People would say, well, history is really, really complicated because millions of people are doing millions of things at the same instance. How do you interpret all that?
I don't agree. I don't agree with that. That history is complicated. There is some history that is relevant, and there's a lot of history that isn't relevant in terms of what we're trying to do here on the revealing history thing. I mean, I talk a lot to children, and somehow I manage to get children to understand it. And it's basically about being truthful. That's all it is. I mean, if you tell the truth and stick to that line, it takes away the complications of history, basically.
Yeah, and how you
that's what I find.
It's how you put it across. I'll give an example. I was in a school not so long ago, and was a pupil who's hardly a year 10 pupil. No, he's year 11, so he's almost last year. Hardly in school, wags it a lot, doesn't turn in. And what happened this day was, I had a lot of stuff on Black History, so I wanted somebody to put it up and make a little exhibit. So I got this lad to do it for me, right? He turned in there to stay, right? Come in, school, right? I said, yo, man, I need some help with this. What do you think of these? So these were all Black History things, posters, talking about this and images of people, right? Now, this kid hates history. Hates most school anyway, don't matter, hates it, yeah? Seriously, black youth, right? Hates it. Yeah. So he turned in. I had him make an exhibit for me. I said, would you know, right, so you're wagging your lesson, you're not going into your lesson. You could come and hang out with me. I need some help. So he stayed with me all afternoon, and I had him make an exhibit of all these posters and images. And then it had one of Imhotep. Yeah? And the picture of Imhotep, which is the first black Christed figure, small little, known as a Twa, IK pygmy.
Imhotep was the gentleman that designed the pyramid of Giza.
And all doctors swear to him, but the name Columnascapulus. Anyway, so this lad now picks up this and he's putting up, and so I tell him about this Imhotep and said, do you know him? Remember the film The Mummy? They showed him as a big 6-foot white man. Of course he'd seen the film The Mummy. And so we're having a discussion about this Imhotep, the real images of him, what he'd really did in history, and how he'd seen him on his video. So he's put this exhibit. So we go back into this room, and he's supposed to go to a history lesson. The teacher said, you're supposed to go to history. He said, I ain't going, I hate history. I said to this child, but you've just been doing history. You've just been looking at black history. And he went, that's different.
And what was the difference to him?
Well, how it had been presented to him, hadn't it? You got it. So, kid hates history, hates school, full stop. Yeah. But suddenly, he was interested in this.
So looking at the event we've had today, and the turnout, the makeup of the audience, the numbers of people there, were you satisfied with that? And if you weren't, what more can be done to get more people involved?
I was satisfied in that the people that came were very attentive, and they were very interested in what we said. You know, I'm confident that they're going to take what they hear, they're going to take it away and sort of like disseminate it to other people.
And there will be some taking it further. There was one there who actually specifically came looking at Manchester involvement in enslavement. Yeah. However, I was disappointed in that it hadn't, in the revealing history things, it hadn't really been advertised. And we know that if, for example, we'd allow this to be advertised on our own cultural, social network, you're nothing to do with these places, we would have had this place rammed out.
Definitely.
Packed out with people and children, because that's to me the primary. Because I'm like, well, there should have been loads of kids here. Yeah? So I know we could have it packed out. So for me now, for the museum to move forward, it's next then, they have to become what I call socially and culturally involved in their advertisement of it. Not use their normal networks and structures. Email this and they've got none of the usual structures. What's that excludes anyway? I don't even read them. Never mind. So saying, well, next time for the review, they've got to have a strategy whereby they bring on board those vulnerable communities, working class white folk, working class Asian folk, working class black folk. Say, look, there's ways of reaching them, and if you don't come and find out, then you're going to get what you've always got. The same typical audience. Yo, we could have packed this place out with young people and old people from hard to reach groups.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. And when we did it in Salford Museum. Got hard to reach groups, young and old, involved in the exhibit.
I mean, the fact is, when you look at, say, a place like the Lowry, And the big thing about the hoodies turning up, you know, just white Salford kids turning up to the Laura, you know, being basically turned away.
Go on.
So looking at revealing histories,
Yeah.
and kind of leading on from that, really, are museums in Greater Manchester just ticking a box? Or
Yes.
is-
Well, of course, for the
Yeah,
moment. Yeah,
of course, for the
you
moment.
know, it's like schools. They might put up their poster about, you know, and they think, yeah, well, that's the first step. And if it only stays there, then it's wrong. First step, then move on, move forward to the next, evolve that. Then how are you going to bring in those groups which are in on what you're doing? So it's the first step. And now, so you can say, right, in revealing histories, they're making a first step. And can't judge you on that. What we can do is say, right, it's just the first step. Now we want to see how you move forward with this, and then how you involve those communities which are most vulnerable. The communities of colour, the white communities, I say working class white communities, how you bring those on board. Then they can say it's moving on. But if it stays there, just do a picture on, then it's not really
Do
doing
you
much.
think there's a kind of there's a genuine interest among young black people in their history?
Well, of course.
Well, it depends.
Yes, there is, because what
It's when you turn them on to it. It's when you turn them on. It's like that lad I told you about. Yeah, he was like, history. God, if I'm out of school, you know what I mean?
if you talk to academics about ways of nurturing children, they talk about nurturing them, mentally,
Psychologically, physically,
emotionally. But there's another form of nurturance that's never mentioned, and that's your racial core.
Identity, psychological
nurturing
core
your
identity.
racial core.
Yeah.
I mean, for every white children that lives in this country, their racial core gets nurtured every single day.
Whiteness just gets nurtured as
It
positive.
gets
Get hit with
nurtured
it.
every day, because they see good images of themselves within this white Eurocentric culture, because it's their culture, and obviously they're going to see good images of themselves.
And look at a dictionary.
But for black children,
White.
all they ever see of themselves is like,
The typical, stereotypical. Yeah? Use lots of such good dancers. We bet you're good in bed. We bet you're good at running, but you ain't got nothing in your head. So they're stereotypical
Very
images.
much so.
What you get hit with 24/7. And unless you open your eyes,
yeah.
you think, oh, right, never really noticed that was there. You might get the odd exception, but what's the general norm? What are kids in schools, on the street, down the road in down the road in Miles Plain, down the road in Wimmershaw, what are they getting hit with?
Yeah.
What are they seeing?
Exactly.
You know
And
what I mean?
the thing we realise is that history can be used as a way of nurturing their racial core.
Yeah.
And once they see themselves included in history and included in the whole worldwide scheme of things, it changes their concept
Of self, and
of self.
it has a double impact for the white
It
child.
boosts, it
How do they
boosts
then
their
view?
self-esteem,
Yeah,
and it makes them feel more good about themselves. And so there's less,
it's less likely to become self-destructive.
yeah,
And all you got to do now is say, well, look at black communities in the Western world. What are the things which are impacting on them, enhancing them, or self-destructing? Canada, America, France, Germany, Portugal. All former nations who did what? It's about how do you enhance the child, because ultimately it's the children who will be the next generation. Because okay, we're past it now. You know what I mean? So okay, well the youth will come up. How do we nurture them to value each other and themselves, so that ultimately to see each other as human beings?